Hi, my name is Chris Pells. In this video we're going to learn how to save and restore view state in a custom user control. So let's get started by creating a website, and this website and all the code that comes with it is available in the download that comes with this video, so you can get it, download it, and then look at it in more detail. Now what we're going to do here in our website is create a custom user control, and we're going to call this member info. Now member info is a user control that we're going to use to store, or I should say display, some user information on every page of our website. And this website that we're creating is a shopping based website, and when the user first visits the site and logs in, the site will retrieve the member information from the database and display it in our member info user control. And then on subsequent pages or postbacks of the same page, rather than go back to the database and retrieve the member info every time, what we're going to do is write some code that takes that member information and persists it to the view state of our member info control. So let me go into the design mode for our user control, and what we want to do is display several pieces of information about our member in this user control. So what I'm going to do is add several labels to the design surface of our user control, and let me copy and paste this first label so we get several here on the user control design surface. Now let's open up the code behind for our user control, and this is where we'll do our work in terms of interacting with the view state associated with the user control. So the first thing we're going to do in our code behind class is add a private method called load member info. Now what we're going to do here in load member info is the first time through this method we're going to get the member information from the database, and for the sake of this example code we're not really going to go to the database. We're just going to hard code in assignment of some values to the labels, and then we'll persist that in the view state. Now what we want to do here in member info or load member info is test and see whether or not the member information is in the view state. If it's not, then we get it from the database. If it is in view state, we load it directly into the labels from the view state. So to do that, we would say something like if me.viewState. Now view state is the property of the user control. There's also the same property on a page that contains the view state information. So in this case, me.viewState represents the view state for this particular user control. Now the view state is a certain type of collection called a hybrid dictionary that contains name value pairs. So in this case, for the view state, if we want to get at a particular value, we would put its name. So we'll test for the member name, which is a view state property or item that we're going to be storing, and we'll say if me.viewState member name is nothing, meaning that we do not have a member name item in our view state property, then that would mean that the view state information is not available, and we'll put an else in here, which means that the view state information would be available. So what we're going to do if the view state information is not available is we're going to simulate loading the information from a database and storing it in the view state. So let me just put a comment to that effect. We'll say load data from database and store in view state. And what we'll do is just hard code the values here for sake of simplicity. So we'll go me.viewState, and the first thing that we're going to store is the member name, and we'll assign that to be Joe Smith. The second thing that we're going to store in the view state is an item called last visit, and we'll set that equal to a date time. So let me just make up a date. We'll just say 11/20/2007, at 10 in the morning. The next thing in the view state will be the total budget. As I said, this is a shopping site, so this will retrieve the total budget available to the user from the database, and in this case we'll put $500. The next thing we'll get from the database and store in the view state is the items purchased, and this is the number of items that the user has purchased, and we'll make that equal to 10. And the last thing we'll display is the amount of money they have spent year to date. So we'll say me.viewState, and we'll put YTD purchase, and we'll say this user has spent $2,500. So the next thing we'll do is to load the view state information into the labels on the page. And to do that, what I'm going to do is actually get rid of this else statement, and what we'll do is have that if statement just simulate loading the data from the database the first time through. And now we'll take the values from the view state and assign it to each of the labels on the page. So we'll say label1.text, and we'll assign that to me.viewState, and it's as simple as typing the name of the key in the view state, and in this case converting it to a string and assigning it to the label. So I'm going to go along here and do that for the rest of the labels that we have. And the second thing that we're going to have is the last visit to string. And I'm going to go back once I've finished this, and we'll make these labels a little more complete. So let's take label 3, and to that we'll take the view state value total budget to string. Label 4 will be the items purchased, and the last one, label 5, will be equal to the year-to-date purchase. Now that will just display those values in the labels, and for some of these we might want a little static text as well. So what I'm going to do here is say last visit, and add that in. We'll leave the member name as it is, and for here we'll put total budget, and what we'll actually say is total available, because that's what this one represents. Add a number of items purchased, or items purchased, and total purchased. Now the next thing we need to do is call this load member info method somewhere when the user control is being constructed during the page processing back on the server. And it is important where we call this, and we're going to call it in the pages or the user controls load event. So let me add the load event here, and there we go. We have a load event now, and in this load event we'll call load member info.